Okay, in this demo it's going to be a little bit longer because we're going to go ahead and talk about tables. And tables are quite complicated and require a bunch of tabs to get started, and they also have a lot of attributes that are available. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the basic table structure here. I'm going to open up with a table tag and we'll add more attributes to that. But we're going to set up the basic structure. And tables are said to be row dependent. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a row, and then inside each row we'll create cells, which when they line up, of course, will turn into columns. So in this case, we're going to set up a table, and we're going to close our table tag to let the browser know we're done making a table. And in between here, we're going to go ahead and do sets of TRs and TDs. So a TR sets up a row. It tells the browser start making a row. And then the TD divides that TR into cells. So if I do TD slash TD and then TD slash TD and one more, what I've done in effect is taken one row and put 3 cells in it. So if that's all I want, I can go ahead and close that TR. So that tells the browser that's the end of that row. And if I want another row, then I just open up another TR tag, and I'm going to cheat so you don't have to waste your time watching me type all of that. I'm going to copy and paste that in place and change this to 4, 5, and 6, and go ahead and close this TR. So what we have here is we have a table that has 2 rows and it has 3 columns in it. So let me go ahead and save that real quick just to show you how that looks in the browser. And we're going to switch back over to our browser. We're going to open that file up and take a look. So notice it's lined up in a table format. There's no border. The default is to not have a border, so we can go back with attributes in a little bit and change some of that. It also defines the width of the table. If you don't put a width in, it will automatically collapse the cell to accommodate the size of the data that's in it. So let's go back real quick and let me just show you what I mean by that. If I were to add a bunch of gibberish to our first cell, and I'm going to go ahead and save that and go back and reload our page, then you'll see that that cell has now grown, and 2 and 3 and 5 and 6 are still in thinner cells because, again, it collapses to accommodate that. So let me take some of that gibberish out just so it makes it a little bit easier to see here. So some of the attributes that we can put on the table if we want to, and this will put it on the whole table, is we can add a border attribute. And this is going to be in a thickness of cells. So if we add a border of 2, then that's going to, as you might suspect, add a border of 2. Okay. We can also set the width of the table here, and we can do that in either pixels or percentage. And you have to put a whole lot of thought into how you want this to work. If you put it into pixels, then you're going to give a number, and that will be the width of the table. Now, if something supersedes that, if some of the content, like a picture or some long text inside that cell, actually makes it go beyond that 400 pixels, it will. With text, it'll wrap where a word is supposed to wrap, but a picture obviously can't wrap. But you'll see that this takes up 400 pixels here. Now, you need to be careful if you put widths on tables that are very large, you run the risk of having the person having to scroll horizontally or scrolling back and forth as well. So that's one of the drawbacks of using pixels. The other thing you can do is you can set this to a percentage. So now you've said I want the table to take up 50%. And the power of this is in the fact that regardless of what size monitor somebody's using, whether it be on their cell phone or on a big monitor, the table will figure out how big the screen is and take up 50% of that screen space. So there are pluses and minuses to using both of those, and a lot of times you just get a feel for what you're going to do. Another thing that you can do is you can set the alignment. I'm going to go ahead and align this and I'm going to center the table. And as you might suspect, that is going to center the table on the page. Now, down in our TRs and TDs, alignment's going to work a little bit differently. What it's going to do is it's going to align the contents inside the cell. But when you put the aligned attribute on the table, it will align the table itself on the page. So another one we can do right now is, let's go ahead and use a style. And we can go ahead and do background color, and we'll go ahead and set that to, let me scroll over so you can see this, red. So we're adding an inline style in the table to set the background of the table to red. So we're going to save that, and again you'll see that that applies to the entire table. Where the power in tables lies is the ability to control real estate a lot better. Those are the attributes that you'll see a lot of times here on the table itself, but you can actually set styles and different attributes on the TRs and the TDs. So if I come in here with this TR and do style equals background color yellow, then I would have that whole first row, because it's attached to the TR, be yellow. So you have a little bit of control. You can do that on a TD. If I come down here and I do style background color pink, as you might suspect, when I save that and go back over and reload that, then the cell that it's attached to is pink. But the other advantage of using a table is the ability to put things where you want them to go. And let me show you what I mean. I'm going to go ahead and change the width of this table to, let's say, 300 pixels. I'm not going to say 300%. And I'm going to come in and I'm going to put some more gibberish in these TDs. I want a little bit more. And you'll see that these table widths will adjust. Anything I can do outside of a table cell, I can do inside. So if I do ahref equals http://www.tarleton.edu, then I can go ahead and make links to Tarleton. And I can go ahead and go in here and I can put in an image. We'll go ahead and put in shrimp from our last lesson. I'm going to go ahead and add the alt tag, shrimp, maybe, if I can type. So when I save that, let me go back here and reload this and show you what I mean. That, again, because we've set the table to a 300 pixels, we are limited. So we had to expand this cell here with the shrimp in it to make it wide enough to hold the shrimp. And then the browser distributes the rest of the space between the other two cells where it can. Because it thinks this is one word, it can't wrap that word, and so it has to accommodate that cell. That cell has to be a little bit bigger to accommodate that, as opposed to links to Tarleton here. But in the when HTML first came out, a lot of people did their graphic design using tables, because without a table you can put something in three places. You can put something here, which is left aligned. You could put something centered, and you could put something right aligned. If I came in and said I want to put the picture of that shrimp right there, it would be very difficult to do without a table. So a lot of graphic design at the time was done with the shrimp put inside a table that had no border on it, so it hid it from people. So going back to our code, I just wanted to show you a couple of things that allow you to change some of the layout on your table. Inside a TD where our shrimp is, I can do an align equals center, which will center that image, but I can also do a V-align, which sets the vertical alignment, and I can do top, middle, or bottom. So I can now put that shrimp at the top of the cell and reload that. And so you can see that adding this very simple table has given us a lot of options. Instead of left on the page, centered on the page, or right aligned on the page, now I can left align, center, or right align something within a cell. And with those three options, I can also align it at the top, the middle, or the bottom. So even within each cell, I now have 9 options. And then, of course, if you have complicated tables, then you can go ahead and make some pretty complicated layouts and put things exactly where you want to. So because this is getting a little bit long, I'm going to go ahead and end here. We're going to come back with the same example in the next exercise and talk about some ways to format your table to join table cells and things like that.